Preparing for a video interview in many ways is the same as preparing for an in-person interviews, with a few additional things to think about. In this video, we take you through 9 additional things you have to think about when preparing for a video interview. My name is Jess Coles, and I've sat in over 1,000 interviews as a hiring manager, hiring at all levels from juniors to CEOs. I've personally been through many tough interviews and assessment days to get management level jobs in top companies. If you're new to this channel, Enhance.training provides online business courses to help professionals, managers and business owners improve their performance. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe and share it with friends. Video interviews are definitely becoming a more common form of interviewing, and certainly in the early stages of a recruitment process. Before we dive into 9 areas to think about when preparing for a video interview, let's touch on the basics of preparation. The most important part of interview preparation is being able to answer all the typical interview questions that the interviewer will pose. If you want help in this area, go to Enhance.training and select resources and take a look at our interview question bank. At the end of the interview, you need to leave the interviewer very confident that you can do the job that you're applying for. Make sure that you have a lot of well thought out examples of where you have delivered against the typical challenges and tasks of the role that you're applying for. And add in your key achievements in your current and past roles. Those projects or results that make your contribution to the company really stand out. Plan out what you're going to say for the reasons as to why you left your previous roles. There are a few acceptable reasons, such as looking for development. And of course, be really clear as to why you want to join the team and do the role that you're applying to. You must come across as keen and enthusiastic to give yourself the best chance of winning the role. So assuming that you've done all of that general preparation, let's go through what else you need to think about when preparing for a video interview. The quality of your video call is probably the next most important factor. If your picture keeps freezing or breaking up, or the sound cuts off or it's unclear, then firstly the interviewer will be put off by you to some extent, and it will be frustrating for both parties. And secondly, you're going to be conscious of the problems and not be as calm and relaxed as you would be otherwise. Interviews are stressful enough, even with everything going well. Problems with the picture or the sound will probably result in you dropping down the pecking order of candidates. A poor connection just adds the pressure on you to perform even better in other areas. Don't put that kind of pressure on yourself. Make sure you have a good internet connection. If your Wi-Fi is not good, then plug a cable directly from your computer to the modem. If the broadband connection is a bit iffy, try going through your mobile, and so on. Test out your connection with a Zoom or a Teams meeting with friends well before the interview. Now let's think about what device to use for your interview. There are so many options available today, which to choose. Phones, tablets and laptops come with cameras as standard these days. If you have a desktop, you may need to get a separate camera. There are also some additional factors that you should consider. They may be obvious to many of you, but I remain surprised by the number of candidates that don't think about them. Don't hold the phone in your hand during the interview. This will lead to shaking or movement of the picture itself, which will be off-putting to the interviewer. Plus, holding a phone for that long will be tiring to say the least. Make sure the phone is in a fixed position. If you're using a phone, then balance it on a shelf, for instance. The ideal position is for the camera to be at level with your face and a few feet away from you. This produces a similar picture to an interviewer sitting across the desk from you, or if you're in a meeting with another person. We suggest that you don't put your laptop, phone or tablet on the table and then look down at it. As an interviewer, we don't want to be seeing up your nose, nor do we want you to be hunched over. It is harder for you to relax, and it also makes it harder for the interviewer to see your face and the body language properly. If using a phone, make sure the phone is at eye level and resting on a shelf or a pile of books, something like that. And if you're using a laptop, try to use a laptop stand to get the camera up to eye level. And if you're using a desktop, put the camera on top of your monitor, again aiming for eye level. The golden rule is get the camera to eye level. Make sure that the other person can clearly hear what you're saying. Your answers are spoken, of course, and if the interviewer has to work to hear what you're saying, it will not help your application. If the microphone in your device is not working, buy a separate microphone. A basic microphone is not particularly expensive. If you're using a phone or a tablet and the sound is poor, change the device and use your computer. An interview is a two-way street. You're also assessing them, deciding if you want to work with them or want to join their team, or deciding if this person is really able to help progress your career. If your screen is too small, it's quite hard to see the interviewer and their body language. So make sure your screen is big enough that you can see the visual clues from the interviewer. This will also help you give a better interview performance. A phone is not the best choice for this reason because the screen is quite small. And finally, in summary, for what device to use the device that has the best picture and sound quality and set it up at a good height with the camera around eye level. Make sure the picture doesn't move and you have both hands free. So we've covered our technology setup. What is next to consider? The location you choose for your video interview is important. You need a quiet location in which you're not going to be disturbed. You don't want background noise or people walking past or other distractions going on behind you. You want the interviewer focused on you and what you're saying. And looking professional will always help your application. So I suggest you don't use public places like coffee shops or outside spaces such as streets or possibly parks, depending how busy they are, or any other location that creates doubt on your professionalism. The best location to use is a room at home in which you'll not be disturbed, or book a meeting room at the office. I know that this is not always possible. If it's not, then find the place that's the quietest where you'll not be disturbed for a good hour or so. When in a video interview, what is in the background and what it says about you should be considered. A safe option is a light-coloured plain wall behind you without many other items in view. If you're in a neat and tidy room and the interviewer can see most of the room behind you, this is usually fine as well. But just check what the background says about you before using it. If the room's messy or there's lots of unorganised books packed onto shelves or other visual clues that maybe give the impression that you're not as hard-working or not as organised as other candidates, you might well rule yourself out of the running before you've even said a word. So make sure your background is neat, tidy, professional looking and reflects you and your working approach. Teams and Zoom have the ability to blur the background or show a picture as a background. Both features are really useful, particularly if you've got a really messy room or the background's not great. The downside is it can be a little distracting for the viewer as your outline usually flickers a bit. Lastly, make sure that the lights or windows are on the other side of the camera from you. You do not want a window or light source behind you, as this will create a silhouette effect, which will make it much harder for the interviewer to see you. Unfortunately, if the silhouette effect is bad, this may well negatively impact your application. You'll want to give the most professional impression possible, so make sure that your location, the camera position and the background all add to your presentation of a professional, hard-working person. Make sure you have all of the technical aspects covered too. There's nothing worse than a video call in which the picture keeps freezing, moving, or has lots of visual distractions or where you can't hear what the candidate is saying. Cover these aspects and a video interview can almost be as good as an in-person interview for both sides. Good luck with your interviews. And if you like this video, please hit the thumbs up button below, subscribe and hit the bell to get notified of our weekly video releases. This really helps us produce more videos to help you. Thanks very much for watching and I look forward to seeing you again soon.